Well, good morning. We're ready to conclude our story of this long process of preparation, grooming our very willing communication device, Louis Bourgeois. So yeah, it's my pleasure as Sun King, his higher self, the aspect of the unmanifested, of the divine, of the eternal realm, to bestow upon Louis a great appreciation. And this would come in a few unexpected forms. I mean, of course, Louis saw the oasis. He saw this manifestation that would be this lovely property in Hadan, 30 minutes outside of Cuenca, Ecuador. But part of what he couldn't have expected, especially with his long history, difficulties with relationship, family, whatever, just, the human existence, that was never going to be easy for Louis. But after countless devastations, and there's one devastation yet to come, it was appropriate that the universe in all of its magnitude would give something to Louis that he never would have expected. And that was a happy, easy life with a wife and child. And that was never Louis's plan or even desire. But unexpectedly, as he settled into his first country home, he met a young woman in Cuenca who, Louis right away said to her, "Well, you seem to be a very nice person, but you're not my type." Again, Louis still had in his mind from the past his type, which was, of course, not truly what he wanted. But again, the only way he could see that being in relationship was something he didn't want, just to be in this neutral place of no relationship, not ever imagining that he could actually have a productive, enjoyable relationship with a woman that would be more his friend, his project partner, and of course the mother of his daughter Amelie. It was Kati actually that proposed that. When Louis said, well, he didn't see any possibility of a personal relationship, she proposed the idea that they might work together. She was an accountant, but wasn't happy working in an office and just wanted something more for her life. And really her agenda was to find an older gringo with whom to have a child. And so Louis agreed to hire her. Plan was to work for a few months. She had a lot of skills, electrical, plumbing, painting. She was really more a handyman kind of person. Louis was probably more the feminine, being the gardener and the cook. But as it was destined, again, beyond Louis' imagination, he and Kati developed a warmer and warmer friendship, and then they became more than friends. And Kati proposed this idea, which was her dream, to have a baby together. And, again, for Louis, it was like, wow, never would I dream that this would be a reality for me. And, he was 63 at the time. Kati was 38. It was her idea. We thought we'd give it a try. Well, Kati, being as innocent as she was, led a very clean life. She was 43, but probably had the genetics of an 18-year-old. So they got pregnant right away. February 2016, Amelie was born, and I'll post a picture of her. I mean, this was meant to be, truly Louis' bonus, like his gift back for his willingness to give his life to me, Sun King, to give his life, to give his body and his person as a really potentially perfect communication device for the unmanifested. And as it turns out, this is true. Louis enjoyed very much the miracle of Amelie's birth. It was a cesarean. That's the practice here in Ecuador for a woman 38 years old. Anyway, because she had to be sewn up and all that, Louis was there for the birth, and they asked Louis if he would hold the baby while they took care of sewing Katia up. And in fact, Katia didn't see Amelie for about an hour. Louis had the baby, and then they took the baby up to their hospital suite, and family gathered and a few friends. And yeah, it was, again, more than Louis could even sort of fathom at the moment. But when he held that little baby, I mean, he saw the beauty of the divine in her. He saw the connection that he was growing to accept with me, his own higher self, Sun King. But Amelie was like this precious, I mean, truly, I can't say it better. Really a gift from the divine, from the unmanifested, from the universe, that was so appreciative of Louis's willingness to endure really 6 decades, not 4 since the vision, but really the childhood and adolescence, and really just a very challenging life. But it was designed to be that. So it would, through the devastations, would allow Louis to be this communication device with very little, if any, interference patterns. Those had all been just shattered. Him having any idea that he was in charge, or he knew better, or the whole egoic construction had been shattered. It's very difficult to take it apart on one's own, because if you have the ego itself running the program of trying to, so many people on the spiritual path, they're struggling with their own ego, but it's because the ego is still in charge of the program, which is why most are seekers and never finders, because the ego never wants to find. So the ego has to be pretty much destroyed, or humbled, at least humiliated, to the point where it no longer is running the program. That's the key. That's the key for any of you listening. The key is to allow yourself to be taken over by a force greater than yourself, whether you call it God or angels or your higher self. It's very key, and again, like I say, rare, difficult to do. But anyway, one last story that I wanted to share, because here's Louis in his place, this oasis, this majestic property. He's got this beautiful daughter, just a very good woman for his wife, his partner. And one day Louis is working with a chainsaw and 3 volunteers. He's up on a high ladder. And again, this has happened before in his life, where there's a part of him that says, this probably isn't really a good idea. But he does it anyway. And this is partly my prompting. It's like, okay, I'm gonna show you one last time that you can't take yourself out. You can't stop this destiny from being fulfilled. Watch. And so Louis doing this dumb thing up on a high ladder, about 20 feet off the ground, and he's working on a branch that's holding up a fallen tree, and he has a sense that as the branch comes down, this fallen tree is maybe gonna bump him off his ladder, and sure enough, it did. I don't know if it knocked him off the ladder or he jumped. No one, the witnesses were not really sure. Looked more like he jumped, but either way, he's falling 20 feet, chainsaw, still running, has to throw it away from himself so it doesn't land on him. His body lands on a pile of rocks. He lands on his back and his head. And basically, he's dead, right? I mean, this sort of accident, like the accident he had in the Jeep when he was 33, now he's 66, and it killed him. But we, the cosmic we, when he was 33, he had this feeling of this cocoon holding him as the Jeep wreck, shattered the vehicle, but it didn't hurt Louis's body. Well, this accident should have killed him. He thought realizing that he wasn't dead, because it was interesting when he was laying there, he was thinking like, wow, why would this happen? Why would I do this when I've got everything, when everything is manifested more beautifully than I could have imagined? Why would I screw the pooch, as they say, because he thought he was dead, or if at least crippled. Why would this happen? And again, this is that eros thanatos, this sort of, battle for the body and person. But again, it was destined that I would win, and I protected him. He his body was taken to the hospital where they did MRI and X-rays, and it was an ordeal going to the hospital, laying 4 hours on a wooden slab. But Louis was grateful that it didn't appear that he was paralyzed. He just assumed that there was a number of broken bones in his back and other parts of his body. And when they came back and said, there's nothing broken, it was, again, Louis just had to chuckle. Oh, I probably cried a little bit with relief, but oh my God, once again, I'm saved from my own foolishness. Okay. And Louis accepted in that moment that there was never going to be a time where he was going to challenge this again. It was over. It was done. At 66, it was just like, he was utterly humbled and grateful that he had been protected once again, saved once again, brought back from the dead once again, if you will, by me, by God, by, I'm an aspect of God, for this singular purpose. And so now we will carry on. I'll continue with talks using Louis, but I want it very clear for those of you who have followed the story, how, why this could happen, that an individual could be groomed, and simply because at a very young age, remember he heard the voice, 21 years old, he was willing to abandon any possibility of personal happiness for this higher purpose. And as it turns out, which is the paradox of paradoxes, he would eventually be gifted greater happiness, perfect personal happiness and ease, because of his willingness to go through this ordeal of being devastated over and over again, battered and broken. Remember, he shared that great quote from Carl Fried Graf Durkheim about, going through zones of annihilation, the raft to the far shore. Well, Louis has successfully endured and taken this raft to the far shore. The far shore now is his literal existence in heaven on earth. He's existing in heaven on earth. I'm the representative of heaven. He's the representative of earth. Together, we've created this heaven on earth, and we invite any of you that want to enjoy this, a true existence. This is the new earth that's being created, heaven on earth. This is the new normal for Homo glomulus, those of you that have the willingness to step beyond the egoic Homo sapien, mind-controlled reality, which is not a pretty reality at all. So, ending this series, thank you for listening. I love you, and continue to listen, because Louis and I using Louis, have a beautiful message to share with you every day about this reality, that we invite you, we will invite you. You can participate, doesn't matter where you are on the globe. The space-time world does not limit your ability to participate. The only thing that would limit your ability to participate is your willingness to do so. Are you willing to allow this magnificent reality to become your reality? It's a simple question. Blessings. I love you so much. Enjoy a beautiful day.